Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, in our last episode, we learned about the powerful conversion of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, the deep grief of the year of sorrow, and the miraculous night journey of Isra and Mi'raj. Today, in episode 6, we arrive at one of the greatest turning points in Islamic history, the pledges of Aqabah and the Hijrah, the migration to Medina. These events marked the beginning of a new chapter, where the small community of believers transformed into a strong and united ummah. In this episode of the Seerah series, we witness a turning point in Islamic history, the secret gatherings at Aqabah that paved the way for the Hijrah, the migration to Medina. These events not only changed the destiny of the Muslims, but also set the foundations of a new civilization. Let us journey together through these pivotal moments. The first pledge of Aqabah, the 11th year of prophethood, during Hajj, a small group of men from Yathrib, later known as Medina, met the Prophet secretly at Aqabah. They were from the tribes of Khazraj and Aus, who had long been rivals but were tired of conflict. They pledged to worship Allah alone, to abandon idolatry, to uphold righteousness and truth. This is known as the first pledge of Aqabah, a promise of faith but without yet promising protection in battle. It signified the beginning of Islam's reach beyond Mecca. The second pledge of Aqabah a year later. In the 12th year of prophethood, 73 men and 2 women from Medina came secretly at night to meet the Prophet. This time, they pledged not only faith but allegiance and protection. They promised to defend the Prophet as they would defend their own families. This was the second pledge of Aqabah, also known as the Pledge of War. The Prophet appointed 12 representatives, Aqabah, from among them to lead and organize the Muslims in Medina. This was the political breakthrough Islam needed, the foundation for an Islamic community under protection. The Quraysh discovered the plan's news of this secret pledge reached the Quraysh. They were alarmed that a powerful city like Yathrib had offered protection to Muhammad Quraysh. Leaders tried to intercept the people of Medina, but most escaped safely. The Quraysh intensified their persecution in Mecca, realizing Islam now had an external base of support. Permission for Hijrah after the pledges of Aqabah, Allah granted Muslims permission to migrate to Medina. One by one, the Muslims left Mecca, often secretly, leaving behind wealth and homes. Families were split. Some men migrated while their wives or children were held back by Quraysh. The journey of migration tested patience and faith. Medina welcomed them with open arms, earning the name Ansar, the helpers, while the migrants became known as Muhajirun. The Prophet's Hijrah preparations. The Quraysh plotted to assassinate the Prophet by choosing a warrior from each tribe to strike simultaneously. Allah informed the Prophet of the plot. He instructed Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu to sleep in his bed, returning the trust left with him. The Prophet then slipped away at night with his close companion Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. The seeds of hope. Islam spreads to Yathrib in the midst of hardship in Makkah. Allah opened a new door of hope. During the Hajj season, tribes from across Arabia came to Makkah. Among them were men from Yathrib, later known as Medina. They heard the Prophet reciting Quran and were moved by his message. They recognized him from the descriptions found in the Torah. Yathrib was a city divided by tribal wars between the Aws and Khazraj. For years, bloodshed weakened them. They were desperately seeking a leader who could unite them. When they met the Prophet, they realized he was the one foretold, the awaited messenger. Thus began the first pledge of Aqabah in the 11th year of prophethood. A small group of men from Yathrib accepted Islam at Aqabah, a valley near Mina. They pledged not to commit shirk, idolatry, not to steal or commit immorality, not to kill their children, not to disobey the Prophet in what is right. This was the first pledge of Aqabah, simple yet powerful. It planted the seeds of Islam in Medina. The second pledge of Aqabah. The following year, a larger group, about 70 men and 2 women, secretly met the Prophet at night in Aqabah. They pledged allegiance not only to worship Allah but also to defend the Prophet with their lives. This was a major shift. Islam now had a safe home, and the Muslims in Makkah had brothers and sisters ready to support them. When Quraysh heard of this pledge, they were enraged. They increased their persecution, but Allah's plan was already unfolding. Permission for Hijrah. After 13 years of struggle in Makkah, Allah gave permission for Muslims to migrate to Medina. One by one, the believers secretly left Makkah. Families abandoned their homes, wealth, and land, carrying only their faith. Some were stopped and tortured. Some, like Suhaib al-Rumi, gave up everything just to escape. The love for Allah and His Messenger was stronger than any worldly possession. Finally, the Prophet himself was commanded to make the Hijrah. But Quraysh plotted to kill him. The plot to assassinate the Prophet. The chiefs of Quraysh met in Dar al-Nadwa and decided that young men from each tribe should attack Muhammad at night, so his blood would be shared among the tribes. But Jibreel alayhi salam came and informed the Prophet. He told Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu to sleep in his bed while he himself slipped out, reciting, "And we have put a barrier before them and a barrier behind them, and covered them so they cannot see." 36:9 As he left, dust was cast on their heads, yet they could not see him. The Hijrah, the journey to Medina. The Prophet left with his loyal companion Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. They hid in the cave of Thawr as Quraysh searched desperately. Abu Bakr was afraid for the Prophet's life, but the messenger calmed him. "Do not be sad. Indeed, Allah is with us." 9:40. Spiders spun a web at the cave entrance, and a pigeon nested there. Quraysh passed by but did not enter. Allah protected His messenger. From there they journeyed north to Medina, guided by faith and trust. The arrival in Medina, when the people of Medina heard of his coming, they rushed to the outskirts chanting joyfully, "Tala al-Badru alayna, min thaniyati al-wada." The full moon has risen upon us from the valley of Wada. Their new leader had arrived. This was not just a migration. It was the foundation of the first Islamic state, built upon brotherhood, justice, and faith. Lessons from the pledges and Hijrah Islam is built on loyalty, sacrifice, and unity. The Prophet trusted Allah completely, even in danger. Hijrah teaches us that leaving behind comfort for the sake of Allah brings the greatest blessings. Aqabah shows us that da'wah spreads when hearts are sincere. Dear brothers and sisters, with the Hijrah, a new chapter began. Islam was no longer confined to Makkah, but had a city, a community, and a government. The pledges at Aqabah show us the importance of commitment, sacrifice, and unity. The Hijrah demonstrates that Islam's strength is not just spiritual, but also rooted in community, leadership, and collective responsibility. It marked the beginning of a new Islamic calendar and a turning point in world history. As we close this episode, remember the Hijrah was not just a migration. It was the bridge between oppression and freedom, between persecution and a flourishing community. In the next episode, we will explore the Prophet's arrival in Medina and how he laid the foundation of a society built upon faith, justice, and mercy. In our next episode, Insha'Allah, we will discuss the establishment of Medina, the constitution, and the brotherhood between the Muhajirun and Ansar. Wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.